Welcome back to All About Sound, making learning English easier with the 3P approach. Today we're going to continue with our third P, phonics, and more specifically, we're going to continue with word work. Word work is working with one English word at a time, so we can better understand the structure of English words, and therefore it will help us to use and understand English words in the future. Now, some words we'll have challenging time with when we hear them in a context or read them in something. So we take those words out and we bring them into our word work. When we work with one word at a time, what we need to do is, if we're encoding, building words, is know how many syllables we need to build in that word. How many vowel sounds, vowel containing word parts do we need to build? And if we are decoding, looking at a word or hearing a word, we need to know how many syllables we're hearing or how many syllables we are seeing. In decoding, we then take the word and break it down into word parts, vowel containing word parts, word rooms, or syllables. We begin looking at each syllable at a time. So we've gone from the word to the syllable, and we begin looking at the syllable with the beginning, middle, and ending approach. What we see in the beginning of most syllables is a consonant wall. Some syllables may not have a consonant wall, but that is what we're looking for. So what are we seeing in this consonant wall? How is it built, and what do we need? And that's what we're focusing on in this section, the beginning consonant wall of our word part. So let's go on. So in our word work, we are moving from the word to the vowel containing word part. The first thing we needed to do was break our word, if it contained more than one syllable, down into the syllables and start with the first syllable as we progress to the next syllable and the next until we worked with every syllable. But when we focus on each syllable one at a time, we are using the beginning, middle, and ending approach. And this is our beginning, middle, and ending approach. In the beginning, we have a consonant wall. We're hearing at least one consonant sound, and we need to represent that consonant sound with at least one of our consonants. In the middle of the word part, we must have this in order for it to be a syllable, a vowel sound. The vowel sound is the heart of each word part. And the ending is another consonant wall. At least one consonant letter will represent the consonant phoneme in the consonant wall at the ending of the word part. So that is our beginning, middle, and ending approach. For this presentation, we are only dealing with the beginning, the consonant wall at the beginning of a word part. Remember, not every word part will have a beginning consonant wall. Some words, parts, will jump right to the middle, right to the vowel sound, and we will not have a beginning consonant wall. As you see in this syllable, and we've jumped right to the A sound or the A sound, which is represented by the letter A, and we do not have a beginning consonant wall. Thus, the empty highlight at the beginning of that syllable. Not every word part will have a beginning consonant wall. It's important to know that. So one of the first questions we ask is, will I have to produce a consonant wall, represent a consonant wall if I'm encoding, or will I be seeing a consonant wall and having to produce it again mentally or with my mouth if I am decoding? So again, we're looking at the beginning of the word part, and the beginning of every word part, if there is a vowel, is the beginning consonant vowel. Beginning consonant vowels may be single, meaning there's only one vowel, and therefore only one consonant sound. As in false, what do we have? The f, which is represented by the letter F. Ball, we have the B, which is represented by the letter B. Way is represented by the W. The W sound is represented by the W. It can have a double consonant vowel, two consonant sounds, represented by at least two consonants. In stay, we have the S and the T sound represented by the consonants S and T. In crow, we have the K sound represented by two consonants, two sounds, two consonants, the C and the R. In slip, I have the S and the L sound, so I have two consonants at the beginning of my word part, the S and the L. Consonant vowels may also be triple, meaning that they have three consonant sounds. We may have three consonant sounds at the beginning of our syllable or one-syllable word. And that will be represented by three consonants. Splash, sp, three sounds. That's sp, represented by three consonants, the S, the P, and the L in front of splash. Stroll, st, I have that st. So the S, T, R represent those three sounds in stroll. So consonant vowels can be single, double, or triple, depending on how many consonant sounds we are hearing. Remember, it is all about the sound, the phonemes that we're hearing. Graphemes are simply the letters or letter combinations that represent the sound we are hearing. A consonant phoneme can be represented by more than one grapheme. For example, the K sound can be represented by the letter C, as in cat, or K, as in kite. Okay, we're still making the K sound, but we may see it when it's being represented as the letter C or the letter K grapheme. Okay, the Ch sound can be represented by the J as in judge or the G as in gem. We're hearing the same sound, but we see two different consonant letters representing that sound depending on the words they are used in. The sh sound can be represented by an S, but more than likely it is represented by this diagram, SH. So that's just a few examples. More than one phoneme can come together to be represented by one grapheme. So for example, we can take two phonemes, the K and the W phoneme, bring them together to represent the Q in queen. And we will see one letter representing those two sounds, and that is the Q in queen. Or we could take the K sound and the sh sound and bring them together, for example, and they may be represented by one letter, like the letter X in luxury. We're hearing those two sounds coming together, only represented by one grapheme, the X. In a digraph, you'll see digraph, the word digraph, the prefix is di, which means two. Graph means something that you can see. So in a digraph, it takes two consonant letters to represent one sound. And we'll speak more about these digraphs in a bit. But for now, sh, for example, the S and the H consonant grapheme represents the sh sound. we can take a T letter and an H letter to form the grapheme, digraph TH, which represents that sound. So let's look at some one sound consonant beginnings. That means there's one vowel, one consonant vowel at the beginning of our word part or our one syllable word. So I may be using a lot of one syllable words to represent this, but these could also be found as syllables in our words. So the first consonant you're seeing is the B, which makes the B sound. We see that in words like ball or bat, but there is only one sound we're hearing, therefore one consonant vowel at the beginning represented by one consonant letter. We see the C consonant letter, and that can represent the K sound, or as in cat, or it could represent the sound as in cent, as the cent as in penny. We see the letter D grapheme, which represents the D sound in most beginning words. The other two sounds you will hear within a word, but at the beginning of the word, it's the D sound that this D tends to represent at the beginning of a word. If you see F at the beginning of the word, it will make the F sound, as in for. If you see G at the beginning of the word, the consonant grapheme G, the letter G, that is representing the G sound. Okay? The other sounds you see on this list are when it is used within a word at the ending of a word. When we see the H in the beginning of the word, it's making the H sound, as in house or horse. This J sound does make the J sound, as in jam or jelly. K at the beginning of the word is the K sound. L at the beginning of the word, the consonant letter L, if it begins a word, makes a L sound. M at the beginning of the word makes a sound. N at the beginning of the word makes a sound. M as in mother, it's Mother's Day, so I can say that proudly. N as in my name, Nancy. The P makes the P sound. The Q at the beginning of a word will make that double phoneme sound, queen, quiet. It can make a K sound within a word, but we're only talking about our beginning consonant sounds here for this presentation. R at the beginning of the word can make the R sound. You will see the upside down R as a phonetic symbol because it is used a little differently in England. We make a different R sound in England. S at the beginning of the word will make the S sound. T at the beginning of a word will make the T sound. Those other sounds are for when that T is found within a word or at the end of a word. The V in front of a word will make a V sound if it's the beginning consonant vowel. If W is your beginning consonant vowel, it will make the W sound. If X is your beginning consonant vowel, it will make the K sound. As in xylophone, I should say. It should be the sound, the said sound. If the Y is used in the middle of the word, it makes the yellow sound. Said at the beginning of a word will make this sound. Okay, so those are for the beginning consonant vowels, the sounds that we will be hearing. So let's sound box some words with a single consonant phoneme represented by a single consonant letter, like we've done in the previous slide. Excuse the shapes of my boxes. Some of them turn out pretty nice, some of them turn out pretty sloppy. So as you can see in that first picture is a ball, ball. How will that look sound boxed? It's a one consonant vowel beginning. So we just put the sound box around the B sound. That's the only sound we're hearing at the beginning of that word is B. So we put a box around the B, the grapheme that represents that B sound. In cat, what we're seeing is the K sound, and that box goes around the C, the only grapheme representing the K sound. In dog, the sound is D. We're hearing at the beginning of our word root or our word part or our single syllable word. And so we put the sound box around the D grapheme or letter that represents the D sound. That next picture is a fan. So we're hearing the F sound, and we put a box around that F, which represents the F sound. In the next picture, we see a goat. We hear that G sound, and so the G represents the G sound in this beginning of our word part. So we put the box around the G. The next one is house, so we put the box around the house. These are just single consonant vowels, so they have one box around the first letter. So those are single consonant vowels, but sometimes it takes two consonants, two consonant letter graphemes to represent one sound. And we call these digraphs. So it is still a single sounded beginning vowel, but it's represented by two letters to form one grapheme. The grapheme represents the sound, which is the phoneme, but it can consist of more than one letter. In a digraph, we see two letters, but there's only one sound. So let's look at that in this chart, and I hope it's not too visually confusing. It seemed to be the only way I could get it done, and I don't seem to have a pointer to point to when I do this. So we are seeing common beginning digraphs. So there are 5 common digraphs up on top, which are one grapheme of 2 letters to represent one sound. We hear the ch sound represented by ch. We have the sh sound represented by sh. We have the f sound represented by ph. We have the th sound represented by th, and it can be voiced or voiceless. And we have the w sound represented by wh. So let's go back to the ch sound, the ch, and you often see the ch at the beginning of a word part. We are dealing with beginning consonant vowels. So ch can form our beginning consonant vowel, which will be represented when we're looking at the written word with 2 letters, ch, as in chip, chip. As you can see, there is only one box around both the C and the H, so that is my grapheme. Even though it consists of 2 letters, it is only making one sound, and that is what a digraph is. Another word that starts with ch sound is chart. Chart. Again, there is a box around the CH. One box, one sound. Okay, so when we sound box, we're putting boxes around each sound we're hearing, the grapheme that represents the sound we're hearing. In chop, chop, as in chopping wood, we put a box around the CH. If I move over to the sh sound, sh sound, I can use that SH grapheme, 2 letters, 1 grapheme representing one sound, one phoneme. The sh sound is my phoneme. In shut. So because it's one sound and my grapheme, it consists of 2 letters, I put the sound box around both the S and the H because I'm representing one sound. Ship. Ship. I put the box around the S and the H in ship because it represents one sound. Shell. I found a shell on the seashore. Shell, S-H. The box goes around the S-H. 2 letters, 1 grapheme, 1 phoneme. Let's move over to another very common one. That PH represents as in phone. Phone. I put my sound box around the P and the H because it's one sound. Photo, as in I took a lovely photo with my camera. Photo. The sound box goes around the PH. Moving over to the th sound, you'll see 2 phonetic notations. Do not be too concerned with that. They're actually the same symbol, just one's capital and one's lowercase. But we'll just know that the is in this, that, and there. When we see these two letters together, we know they are making one sound, so we put a sound box around both the T and the H. These are digraphs. Then we move over to the w sound. And WH represents the sound in what, where, when, why, and who. When you see this WH together at the beginning of a word part, it's making one sound, so it requires one sound box. I'm hoping that wasn't too visually overstimulating and you understood what I meant by that. So both a single consonant wall, we see one letter at the beginning of a word, one sound, or we have 2 letters that make one sound, as in a digraph. We're only dealing with one sound consonant walls. There'll still just be one brick wall representing the beginning of our word. But we can also double or triple those walls. We may have more than one beginning consonant sound at the beginning of a word part. Be mindful of that. And these are called beginning consonant blends. We may have more than one consonant that we can visually see at the beginning of a written word. Or we may be hearing more than one sound at the beginning of a written one-syllable word or word part. Sometimes the consonant walls will be doubled, consisting of 2 consonant sounds represented by 2 consonant letters. And we'll see here that we have 2 brick walls at the beginning of our word part, then we have our vowel sound, and then we have one single ending consonant sound. So those double brick walls represent a double consonant blend, okay? 2 written consonants, 2 different graphemes, and 2 different sounds before the vowel sound. So you may have 2 sounds in a double blend, okay? Represented by 2 different consonants, consonant letters, which form 2 different graphemes, right? So the grapheme represents each sound, and sometimes those consonants required to make a grapheme are 2 or 1. So let's look at the first picture. The wind will blow. Blow. What consonants are you hearing in the beginning of your word part? Blow. Blow. We're hearing 2. We're hearing the B and the L sound, the B and the L sound. B represents the B sound. L represents the L sound. So we see 2 different consonants written down to represent 2 different sounds. So when I'm soundboxing a consonant blend, unlike a digraph, I put a box around the B and I put a box around the L because they're 2 different sounds. The next picture we see is clap. I will clap my hands. Clap. Clap. 2 sounds, the K sound and the L sound. And these will be represented by the letter C as a grapheme, the letter L as a grapheme. Then I have a flag, F, L, Again, two sounds. The F and the L, two consonants. The F represents the sound, the L represents the little sound. So I would put a sound box around my F and another one around my L. They're making two distinct sounds, and they are represented by two distinct graphemes. The next picture is someone smiling. I like when she smiles. Oh, I'm sorry, this is glad. My bad. I'm working up to all L consonant blends here. They will have an L in them. So glad. I am glad you're here. So I see two letters representing two distinct sounds, the G and the L sound. So I put a sound box around the G for the G sound. It's a grapheme representing the G sound. I put a box around the L. It is a grapheme representing the L sound. So I have two boxes, two consonant walls at the beginning of this word or word part. Then I have the word plain, which is a one-syllable word, which is very much like one syllable in a multi-syllable words. So I see in plain two letters. I hear a P and a L sound again. So the P sound in P is represented by the P, so I put a box around that. The little sound is represented by the L, so I put a box around that. Two sounds, two graphemes, two sound boxes. The next one I have is slow. The snail is moving slow. Slow. I hear S and L again because these are all L blends. So I put a box around the S and I put a box around the L. I'm hoping that is understandable. Let's try some R blends. So these will have an R. So we'll hear the R sound in there in the beginning consonant blend. So they'll have a wall, double walls, two walls. One of those walls will be the R sound. So the light is bright, bright. What sounds are you hearing? You're hearing the B and the R sound, right? So bright. We will put a box around the B and a box around the R. Two phonemes, two graphemes, two sound boxes. Now that next bird is supposed to be a crow, crow, crow. We're hearing the K and the R sound, R sound. So in crow, this will be demonstrated like CR. We'll put a box around the C and a box around the R. The next one is drive. I will drive in the race. Drive, drive. So we're seeing D sound, D sound and the R sound were represented by the letter D for the D sound, R for the R sound, and we will sound box both the D and the R. Two phonemes, two graphemes, two sound boxes. The next one is freeze. Freeze. We see an F and we see an R. The F represents a sound, the R represents a R sound, two phonemes, two graphemes, two sound boxes. I will put a box around the F and a box around the R. The next one is grape. Grape or grapes. The grapes grow well. Grapes, and I love grapes. So I hear the G sound represented by the G at the beginning of my word part or word, and the R is represented by the R. I put a box around the G and a box around the R to show that there are two phonemes, two graphemes representing those phonemes. Then I have pray. Pray. What are you hearing? P, R. So I have pray. I have two phonemes, two consonants at the beginning of that word part or word representing two different sounds. I put a box around the P. I put a box around the R. The next one is train. T, R. So I hear a T sound, a T sound, and I hear a R sound again. T will represent the T sound, R again, R will be represented by the R for train. Moving on, we have someone who is scared. So these will all have a C in them. They'll have the S at the beginning, and they may have a different consonant following the C for a different sound. So in scared, I'm hearing this sound, and I'm hearing the K sound. And we spell it this way. We spell that K sound with the C. Sound is obviously an S. The K sound will be spelled with the C here. I have two phonemes, two sounds, two graphemes representing those sounds, and the graphemes are the consonant letters used to represent the sound. And I will put a box around my S and a box around my C. Then I have skate. Skate, the exact same sound, but because the K sound can be represented by a C or a K, here it is with a K. So it's skate. Skate, I hear this, and the K, I put a box around the S representing that sound, and I put a box around the K representing that K sound. So skate has two boxes. I have smile. I have the S sound again, which will get a box, and sound represented by the M, which will get a box. The next one is snake. So we have SN at the beginning of our word part. We will box the S, we will box the N. Now I have speaker, sp. So I have the S sound and the P sound. I will box the S and I will box the P. We also have a stop light, stop, stop. S and T. S will be boxed and T will be boxed because they're different sounds, different graphemes representing those sounds. And then we have swim. So we have the sound and the W sound, swim. Two different sounds blending together in this consonant blend to form the beginning of our word part or word. And we will box the S and we'll box the W. Good job. Now, unlike a digraph, TH, SH, CH, PH, WH, each sound I'm seeing in a consonant blend at the beginning of a word part or one syllable word must be heard. So each of those consonants will require a sound box because they're making distinct sounds. They may be blending together, but they're not losing their sound as they would in a digraph. So I want to make the distinction between a consonant blend and a digraph. A digraph are two consonant letters making one grapheme and therefore one sound. But a consonant blend is two consonant letters making two graphemes and two sounds or phonemes. So we talked about single consonant walls, which could be the digraph itself, because we're talking about the sound, could be a digraph or one consonant letter, as long as we're only using one sound box, that's a single consonant wall. And we talked about our double consonant walls, which came in the form of consonant blends requiring two consonant sounds. Now we have the triple beginning wall consonant blends. Some word parts will begin with three consonant sounds, three consonant walls, therefore three consonant graphemes, three consonant letters. Okay, so some will have a 3 at the beginning. That is supposed to be a screw. Screw. So I have 3 sounds. Screw. So we have this represented by the S, the K sound represented by the C, and the R sound represented by the R. So I sound box each of those. So I'll have 3 sound boxes this time because I'm representing 3 phonemes, which are represented by 3 graphemes, which are represented by 3 letters, consonant letters of the alphabet. The next thing we see is something being shredded. Shred. Shred. What? It's hard to get that H in there, but there is an H sound in there. So shred is S-H-R. Those are the consonant graphemes representing those three sounds. The S represents a sound, H represents a sound, and the R is represented by an R. So we have three consonant sounds represented by three graphemes, the S, the H, and the R letters used to represent those graphemes in shred. Then we have splash. You dive into the water and you will splash. The S-P-L, right? So we have S-P-L as our graphemes. The S represents a sound, the P represents the P sound, the L represents the L sound. So three phonemes, three graphemes, three consonant letters at the beginning of our word part or single syllable word. Splash. Now that flower represents the time of year it is now. Spring, spring. So three sounds. So I hear the S sound represented by an S. I hear the P sound, which will be represented by a P. And I hear the R sound, which will be represented by an R. Spring, spring. I would put a box around the S, I would put a box around the P, and I would put a box around the R. We have another triple consonant wall at the beginning of our word part, or in this case, single syllable word. So that person's looking pretty strong, lifting all those weights. Strong, st-er. So three sounds again. Strong. I'd put a box around the S, a box around the T, and a box around the R. Again, some beginnings of our word parts, our consonant walls, may be single, double, or even triple. You will also see this blend of THR in the front at the beginning as a beginning consonant wall. THR. As in throw, or throat, or three. THR is not a two-sounded blend. It's not a three-sounded blend I meant to put. It is a two-sounded blend, even though the graphing consists of three letters. We are only hearing two sounds. Why is that? And that two up there in that sentence should say three. I made a boo-boo. Because TH is a digraph making one sound. So the blend contains only two sounds, okay? So though we see three letters, we're not seeing three consonant walls, we're seeing two phonemes, two graphemes. So that means two sound boxes. How would it look if we blend certain words? Let's look at throw. The TH is a digraph, so it only gets one sound box. It only makes one sound. Okay, the grapheme TH is used to represent the sound. R is another box. The same with three. TH deserves one box and the R deserves another. So throw is one of those words that contains a digraph in the middle of its consonant walls. Okay, so not in the middle of its consonant walls, but as a consonant wall. So it's only two walls, two phonemes if I'm using a grapheme as one of my consonant walls at the beginning of my word part or one syllable word. It's also important to note that sometimes one letter in the consonant beginning is silent. So we're seeing consonants in our beginning, but they're not making any sound. They are silent. Let's look at some of those. So let's look at some of those walls that may actually have a silent sound in them. A consonant that we will not hear even though we're seeing it in the word that we are looking at. So if we look at no, we don't hear the k sound, do we? We just hear the n sound. Night, as in the knight sat before the queen, we do not hear the k sound in night, though there's a k in the beginning. We just hear the n and night. Knife, again, the same thing. We hear the n sound, but not the k sound. Honor, we do not hear that h. We go right to the middle vowel sound and hear the honor in that. The same with honest. We do not hear the h sound. In psychology, we do not hear the p sound, the p sound. We go right to that sound in psi. Right, we do not hear the w sound. We just hear the r sound. In sword, we do not hear that w that comes in the second wall. We just hear the sound. In science, we do not hear the c sound or the k sound. We just hear that sound, the s sound at the beginning. In Gnostic, we do not hear the g sound. We just hear the n sound. So how would they look with their sound boxes? So because I don't hear the k sound, I would put an x through the k and put a box around the n, the only sound I'm hearing. In night, I would do the same thing. I would put an x through the k and box the n. In knife, I would do the same thing. Box x through the k and box the n. What about honor? I'm not hearing that h sound, so it's almost like we do not even have a beginning consonant wall. We're going right to the vowel sound. So we put an x through h and go right to the vowel sound to the middle of our word. Honest, I do the same thing, an x to the h. Psychology, I am going to cross off the p, and my first syllable begins with a sound, so I will box the s. That y in psychology is making a vowel sound. It's not being used as a consonant sound. In right, I would take away my w and start boxing the r. Sword, I use this for sword, but I take away the w. Science, I take away the c and box the s. And in Gnostic, I cross off the g sound, the g sound, and start with the n. So when we have silent letters in English, it's one of the things that complicates our language. There is no particular rule for why some letters are silent. You just need to know them and memorize them. But a lot of times, if you remember that when K and N come together at the beginning of a word, you will not hear the K. And many times if you see PS or P in front of another consonant, we will not hear the P sound. And if you have two consonants that are very similar in sound, like the S and the C, if we used it as soft C, one of those will cancel the other letter out. Otherwise, and same with W and R. But otherwise, there's no real particular rules for why some letters are silent. You just need to recognize them. And the more you see them as such, the more you will know them as such. Let's review what we've learned so far. Not all word parts will begin with a beginning consonant wall. Some words will open at the middle with the heart sound or the vowel sound. Beginning consonant walls can be single, double, or triple according to the phonemes. In a consonant blend, all consonant letters that you're seeing represent a sound, and we sound box each letter. In digraphs, we have two consonant letters that we're seeing, but they only represent one letter. One sound, one phoneme. So they come together under one sound box. Some letters represent no sound and they are silent, like the K in no and night. When we are encoding a word or building a word, we always ask to begin with how many syllables we needed to be made in this word. So how many syllables do I need to make in the word I'm about to write or say? Then we create one syllable at a time. And we'll ask, is the first syllable going to be a prefix? Is the last syllable going to be a suffix? Just so we know, will help us with our meaning, our morphemes. Then with our focus on each syllable, because that is our focus of word work. Yes, the word is there, but we break it down into its syllables, its vowel-containing word parts, or its word rooms, and we focus on each syllable. That is where our focus is. And once we get to each syllable that we're focusing on, we ask, does this word part have a beginning consonant vowel? Should it have a beginning consonant vowel? If so, will it have a single, double, or triple consonant vowel? In other words, will it begin with a single consonant sound, a blend, or a digraph? So those are the questions we need to ask when we are encoding a word. So use an example of that. Let's say we are encoding the third syllable, the third word part, or the third word room from the word understand. We used that in a previous slide. Understand. So the third syllable in understand then is stand. Stand. We are now focusing only on the beginning of that syllable, stand. Stand. Is there a beginning consonant vowel in stand? Stand. Yes, there is. Do I need to build a single, double, or triple vowel? In other words, how many sounds do I need to produce or represent for the beginning of that syllable? Stand, stand, stand. That's right, two. Two sounds, two phonemes. The s and the t, the s and the t. So if I need to produce two phonemes, I also need to write two graphemes using a consonant blend. Okay, I'm hearing two sounds, so it's not a digraph. It is a blend. Two distinct sounds, two distinct graphemes need to be created. What blend will I be using? Stand. Right. St, st. So what do I write for my graphemes? S-T. S-T. That's what we do when we create stand. We've created the beginning part of our syllable that we're working on, and that's stand. Good job. So now let's say we are decoding the third and final syllable of understand. We're working on our third syllable, stand. So that is our focus. The word part or syllable in our word stand is the word part or syllable we're focusing on. Is there a beginning consonant vowel from looking at that word? Yes, right? What am I seeing for graphemes? So I am seeing two consonant letters written in front of stand. I'm seeing an S and a T. I know it's not a digraph because I'm making two distinct sounds. So therefore, I have two distinct graphemes. S and a T. I know it is called a consonant blend. The consonants are coming together, but they are not losing their sound. What sound or sounds are they representing? They're representing the S and the T sound, right? Where is the sound focus then? We're at the beginning of the word, and our sound focus will be on the S and the T. So let's look at that. We put a sound box then around the S, and we put a sound box around the T. The S is a grapheme that represents the sound S. T is a grapheme that represents the sound T. Good job. So now let's continue to decode. Can you sound box the beginnings of the following parts? And as you can see, my boxes are pretty messy. Let's go on. On. What? So this is our syllable, for example, on. And I'll be using one syllable words a lot of times to represent the syllable or word part we're working with. On, on. What is the beginning of this, and how would you sound box it? I've jumped right to the middle, haven't I? There is no beginning consonant vowel in on. So there's nothing I have to do. What about this word? Burn. Burn. We're hearing the B sound at the beginning. It's single. So how would we sound box that? We only sound box the B. We do not put a sound box around any other letter. What about the queen? Queen. What are we sound boxing in queen? We're hearing two sounds, the k and the w, but it's only one grapheme. The Q represents both of those sounds together. We have year, year. What is the sound box? Going around, just the Y, a single consonant vowel, single sound, single grapheme, represented by one letter, the Y. What about clown? Clown. I'm hearing k and l, so what do? I sound box the C because it's making the k sound. I sound box the L because it's making the L sound. Two phonemes, two graphemes represented by two different consonant letters. What about sweet? Sweet. Again, when I look at the word, I see two consonants representing two graphemes, representing two phonemes. So I put a box around the S and a box around the W. What about this one? This one. Well, TH, remember, is not a blend. It is a digraph. So I would put one box around the TH because it makes one phoneme. What about shin? Shin. Again, SH is a digraph, so it gets one sound box. What about white? White. WH is another digraph, so guess what? WH is in one box. It makes one sound. What about chop? Chop. Another digraph, makes one sound, so CH goes in one box. You are doing great. What about phase? Phase. Phase. It makes an F sound, but it is a digraph, only one box. What about no? No. Right on. The K is silent. There is no sound. The sound box goes around the N. Very, very good. You've really done a great job keeping up with me. At the beginning, so there, we've just completed our understanding of the beginning consonant vowels in our word work, which is necessary for phonics. We have taken the word part that contains the vowel sound and looked at the beginning consonant vowel that makes up that word part, if there is one. Remember that not all words have a beginning consonant vowels. Some words jump right to the vowel sound, and we do not have that consonant at the beginning. If we do have a beginning consonant vowel, that beginning consonant vowel can be a single consonant vowel consisting of one consonant sound, whether it be one consonant letter or a digraph, or it can be a double consonant vowel consisting of more than one consonant sound, as in a consonant blend. And that consonant blend can also be a triple blend, meaning three consonant vowels at the beginning of our word part. Every sound we're hearing is the important thing. How many sounds are we hearing at the beginning of our word part? And how will we represent that sound? With a grapheme. So we've discussed that, and hopefully now you have a better understanding of both how to encode, build a beginning in your consonant vowel, in your word part, and how to decode, recognize the sounds you're hearing and the letters that you are seeing that make up that sound. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time when we continue with phonics. Have a great day.